And then just don't look at this sheet. This sheet isn't. This is because I'm still trying to get.
I won't cheat.
This would be the one nice thing. We started talking about like spaces and like having an apartment and all this stuff, and it's like that one would be one nice thing about like being settled with this is like to have a little studio space set up for the. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
One day, you'll do it.
We'll get there. Exactly. Next time you come on the podcast, you'll be in the studio. It'll be great.
It'll be like a fancy glass.
Oh yeah, 100% at CBC. Cool. So these are 10 questions just sent in by the listeners, kind of fun, just like random. Everyone knows you have not seen these before. So first thing that comes to your head, okay?
Okay.
If you could take a time machine to any year, both future or past, which year do you go to?
I would go 50 years, no, 70 years. 7 years from now to find out about what's going to happen with climate change. And I would try to find some evidence to bring back to now.
Oh, nice.
Right before the federal election.
So you're trying to help out the now people.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Cool. First lyrics that come to your head. 1, 2, 3, go.
Sarah. That was my sister's name. Bob Dylan's Sarah.
Oh, cool. Are you a big Bob Dylan fan?
Yes, my dad's a big Bob Dylan fan. Everything my dad sings sounds like Bob Dylan. So
perfect. So you're good to go.
I grew up on some Bob Dylan. Yeah.
I love it. Piece you have done it was funny actually talking about our auditions and stuff like that. Piece you have done the most at auditions.
Oh, there's a monologue from. I mean, I haven't done this the most. Like I did this once I was actually auditioning the most from. It's a Michel Tremblay piece. I think the English title of the play is Solemn Mass for a Full Summer Moon.
All right.
I know it's so obscure.
Yeah, it's like fancy.
It is a bananas monologue about it's a woman speaking to her father who had, I think he's like a quadruple amputee from a workplace accident. And she's been caring for him for the last 10 years. And it's like the moment when she's like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
It's all bubbled over, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's dramatic.
Dramatic. I love it. Cool. So I say piece of content. So rather like either a book or a movie or a play or a podcast or anything like that. But the thing that you have recommended the most to people. Like you got to check this out.
This is super easy. Partially because I work in a library and people are always asking me what they should read. I always recommend Philip Pullman's Subtle Knife trilogy. Okay. So the first one is The Golden Compass. Of course, everyone knows The Golden Compass, and the shitty movie that they made out of it. It's bad.
Yeah, that wasn't. That has like polar bear soldiers, doesn't it?
Yes, and there's going to be a new BBC TV show that they're making out of it that looks so good.
I was gonna say that's got a chance. I'd watch that.
Well, I like the commercials for it. The armored bears are actually very cool. Okay. They're not as stupid as they look in that movie, but it's a trilogy of books. It's sort of like the atheist Narnia in some ways.
I like the atheist Narnia. That's so funny. I like that. That's awesome.
It's a great book.
Sweet. What was that again?
The Subtle Knife trilogy. Philip Pullman's most famous work.
Beauty. If you could be a virtuoso at any instrument, what instrument would it be?
Probably something like, honestly, probably like a piano or a guitar, something that was, you could sing to. I sort of taught myself to play the ukulele just so I could participate.
Do some self-accompanying.
And like campfires are boring when you're talentless at music.
They're tapping along. Yeah,
like I'm not a super comfortable singer, so that would be nice.
Cool. This is kind of a fun one, especially with the stuff you're doing. If you could put on any show anywhere, so unlimited budget, where do you put it on and what show is it?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I don't feel like it would be a show that exists already. I feel like I would want to create something with a community. Like I feel like, some kind of, I'd want to do something new for sure.
Cool. Very cool.
And where would I put it on? I don't know. God, that's like, it's funny. I probably, it's just like a non-theater space. Like I feel like, somewhere that's like a, this is weird. The first thing that comes to my mind is where we rehearsed our show last year. That was like an old, if anyone knows, like, what's the mall called in Calgary? They're gonna reconstruct it. There was a bunch of empty warehouse space, and that was where we rehearsed.
Hilarious.
I feel like doing a play there would be really interesting.
Cool. Very, very cool. Have you ever, just to kind of side note, little sidetrack on the podcast, but I know I talked about it a lot with Poretic, I believe, but also with Larissa Pohoreski, that there's a festival in Edmonton that's like kind of a found space festival, right?
Yeah.
Is
Found
it
Fest.
It's Found Fest. There it is.
Yeah. Major Matt Mason did a show, I think actually in Leanna and Patrick's house.
Hilarious.
4 or 5 years ago, in their living room.
Amazing.
It was very warm.
I love it. No, it's very warm. Now, I didn't even really realize that this was going to work so well, because I think it kind of already is there, but with what we were chatting about and stuff like that, if you couldn't be in theater anymore, what career would you pick?
You'd think that I would be able to answer that a lot easier, but I've been dancing between whether or not I should invest more heavily in librarianship or social work.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. I could see how one would introduce you to the other, but obviously very different.
They're very different. They should be more one thing. But
it would make sense for librarians to have more of a base level of that kind of stuff.
That's a whole other conversation.
Not for the lightning round. That's a favorite childhood story or nursery rhyme?
Childhood story. All I can think of is there was a series that I don't know if it still exists. Oh God, what was it called? Actually, you know what? Instead of picking something from my own childhood, there's an array of incredible children's books by an illustrator named Carson Ellis.
Okay.
Do you know the band The Decemberists?
Yeah.
So her husband is the front man for The Decemberists. So she does a lot of the illustrations for their albums. This is
sweet.
A whole trail to get there, but I love her illustrations. I have I'll show you afterwards, but there's a bunch of I photocopied a bunch of stuff.
I love it.
In the interim before I have art in my house.
You got some photocopies.
Yeah, her, and there's another illustrator named Isabel Arsenault who has a book called You Belong Here. And it's very cute.
Beautiful. I love it.
Some more illustrators, I guess, than actual.
Cool. Another side note real quickly, but there's some killer kid stuff out there right now.
Oh my God.
The generation that is now in the world of creating that content is crushing it, I think.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite artists right now are children's illustrators.
Yeah, totally. So. Yeah. Very cool. When you travel, what is one thing you bring with you everywhere?
I just got back from this really long trip, so this should be an easier question, but I brought Tupperware with me everywhere.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, I went through Israel with this it ended up being a really shitty set of Tupperware. I should have brought something better, but
would not recommend.
I was trying to reduce my garbage while traveling, and so I had some Tupperware with me.
Cool, love it. And then one accomplishment you would like to achieve in the next year.
I would like to, I don't know if this sounds very corny. This is very sappy. I'd like to know the names of all the people who come to the library more than once a week.
That's really cool. I totally understand that. And just from what we've chatted about the whole episode, that makes sense. There's nothing that's really nice. I have a yoga studio that I go to every day here while I'm in Edmonton doing a show. And I remember the day they started going, "Hey, Tyler." And I was like, oh,
it's magic.
Hey there.
It's the difference you see is sometimes they're really creeped out, but sometimes I see their name and they don't know that I've seen their name because I've scanned their library card and they're like, how do you know?
I don't know.
And that's not, I'll try to go about it in a less creepy way.
Less creepy way. I love it. Awesome. Well, very successful lightning round. I'll just pause this and then we will finish it. I do want to hear, speaking of which, I want to hear some more about the library stuff.
Oh, I love talking about the library.